everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Dating Made Simple here on the Issue Center podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and sitting right across from me, the MVP of this podcast.
So I can't tell you how great it is to be here.
How's it feel to be an MVP?
It's the highlight of my day. It is the highlight of my life.
Well, what we know is the true MVP sitting right next to you.
Yes, well, that's true.
Macy.
Yes. No, I think Bob can be the MVP.
Well, okay. Well, she can be the sixth man.
Good to see you guys.
The sixth man.
Well, Jackson Robinson won Sixth Man of the Year.
He won Sixth Man of the Year award. So.
All right, fine. I'll take it.
Okay.
Well, you guys, we have a special episode today.
Yes, we do.
A fan favorite.
Yes, we do.
A fan favorite.
We've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks to come to this
episode.
So
I have in my hand, right here, I have bad date stories or funny date stories that have been sent in by our listeners.
We love this podcast, don't we, Macy?
We love this podcast.
There's nothing more fun than making fun of people's...
I'm going to read the date story, and you guys will then comment it, because it's going to be the first time you've heard these.
Wow.
And so
that's the way
to comment on these. And you know what? I used to read off titles and give you guys
we
a
know
choice.
That, Tom, and we didn't like the titles.
You made fun of my titles.
We mocked
all the time.
You. We made fun of your titles.
Sorry, Tom.
It's
so
fine.
Today, no titles. You guys are just going to hear the story.
I guess he's showing us.
Oh, should we try something else? Should we try to come up with the title?
No, so let's do this. You read the story, and then Macy and I will come up with a title.
I like that.
See how clever we are.
Yeah, whatever.
Then we'll see if we should do that way every time.
Yeah, I think we should.
I can't believe you guys are messing with the host.
Well,
we're just teaming up. We're just teaming up.
We're not trying messing with you. We're trying to enhance this program. We're trying to make it better. We're trying to improve the quality of this program so that our viewers come away with something.
All right, you ready?
More exciting for them.
You ready for this?
We're ready.
Okay, first one. So during the summer, I made the goal to go out with 10 dates with 10 different guys to get more comfortable with dating in college.
I like that.
That's good.
Right away, I like
really
that.
Good.
I downloaded Mutual.
Nice.
There's a little plug for Mutual.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, and she says, I made an account, and the first few dates went okay, but I didn't meet anybody interesting. Towards the end of June, I matched with a guy. We'll call him Bob. It's quite appropriate, isn't it?
Well, so now you have a visual image of me being the goofy guy on this date.
So
I don't know that that's
So she continues and said, and we agreed to go on a date. Bob invited me to go to the zoo, which I thought was a cute idea. We both drove to a meeting spot, and I parked on the side of the road and then hopped into his car to go. And she puts in parentheses, big mistake. And we went to the zoo. The conversation didn't go anywhere because the guy wouldn't acknowledge or express any interest in me or anything that I said. He only wanted to lecture me on film and how he wanted to be a filmmaker. So, red flag right there.
Oh,
right?
gosh.
Well, that's
and then she says, it was super boring. If a date is supposed to be about getting to know each other, then it was a total failure. I ended up tuning Bob out most of the time. Now, this already may seem like a terrible date, but it gets worse.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
We ended up being at the zoo for 3 hours, and eventually we left.
3 hours?
3 hours. In the zoo, it maybe takes
I know, but if
time.
you're already like, I don't like this date, I would be like, let's go.
On a first date.
Yeah.
Well, but you 3 hours of lecture on film. I mean, who would want that?
Hang on.
Fine.
Don't get too far ahead of me here. And then she says, but he insisted on taking me to dinner for food.
No.
I hesitantly said yes because at this point in my life, I felt guilty about turning people down. But it just wanted to go home. We've heard this before, right?
Oh, my gosh.
I had my car so far away and I felt trapped from this point on. I feel like he had me meet him somewhere and then get in his car so we could spend more time together, and him lecturing me about film and horror movies, in parentheses, she says, which I hate.
Oh, this poor girl.
Finally, after 6 hours total of being held hostage,
6 hours.
the guy dropped me off on the side of the road to walk to my car.
What?
It was a 0 out of 10 experience.
Wow.
Why did he drop her off on the side of the road?
Well, she parked alongside of the road, so he probably dropped her off, and then she had to walk to her car.
Oh my gosh, this sounds awful.
This is a very good bad date.
6 hour first date.
6 hours.
Okay, so what's your title?
I would say
6 hour bad date.
I like, you know the movie I Bought a Zoo?
I bought a zoo.
Like,
See,
I bought a bad date.
We're on the
to
same
the
thing.
zoo.
So I'm thinking, what about Bob?
I know. We need to put your name in there.
Right, but see, what about Bob? Because that's a movie, and it's got Bob. So
okay.
So that's well.
Let's break this down a little bit. We've had this happen before. That
the mistake.
A girl goes and she gets trapped.
The young
she
lady,
should have met at
the young
zoo.
lady, the heroine in this story, Tom, was trying to do her very best. She was trying to meet people, and she was going about it in the right way. Her problem was relinquishing her freedom.
Correct.
She should have just said, there's a few things in here that she could have done. She could have, she got in his car to go with him. I understand that. But when he said, yeah, I'd like to go get something, she should have said, I just drop me off and I'll walk to my car.
Not really hungry.
Yeah, she should have stood up for herself.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. She said she was afraid to say something to make him feel bad. But 6 hours?
Yeah, it's a long,
and
it's a first date. Let's just go. Now, I will say that the zoo, although it takes 3 hours, the zoo is a nice place to walk around.
Oh, it's a great date. That's a great thing. But 3 hours is still, especially if he's in the very first minute, if he's not responding to her and he's not doing, it's a little hard for me to believe that. If this guy is that strange that he's not actually acknowledging anything she says and he's only lecturing her on film, then I think that she says, hey, I left something in my car. I'll be right back.
Hey, I'm not feeling so great. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm allergic to peanuts.
That elephant ear was really messing with my stomach.
Yeah.
Something.
Right. Well, I think anybody listening, they kind of understand this. Guys, don't plan a 6-hour date.
Well, no,
girls don't go on a 6-hour
The guy
date.
was obviously, I think the advice here is that she had plenty of opportunities to extricate herself from this experience and should have done so. I think in the first half an hour when she realized that he was not normally speaking to her, if that's the way that she describes it, she should have been able to say, oh, I've got to be done by, such and such a time.
Yeah.
And so you got to protect her.
All right, so here's the next one. Here we go. So there was this guy I've been chatting with for a while, and we hit it off and shared some laughs. He finally asked me to dinner, and everything seemed fine until I spotted some familiar faces in the back of the restaurant. I asked him about it, and he blew it off and said they were just some of his friends. The dinner was a little awkward because he didn't seem that interested in me. On the way out, we went to say hi to his friends, and as we were walking away, I heard one of his friends say, I'll Venmo you the $20. While giving him a fist bump, I confronted him about it, and it turns out the whole date was some bizarre dare between him and his friends. It was like, I bet you can't get a date with this girl game. Glad nothing serious happened afterwards. Needless to say, I dodged a bullet on that one. Just goes to show you the kind of guys that are out there these days.
That's awful.
Well, but see, I'm not quite understanding. So let's find out what the nature of the game is before we condemn this. So there's a bunch of guys here, and they're saying, okay, that girl right there, she'd never go out with you. Well, what do you mean? Well, because she's got class, and she's good looking, and she's all these things. Oh, she'd go out with me. No, she wouldn't. I'll bet you $20 that you could never get to go out with you. And so you go and you approach her and you say, how do we go out? And she says, yes. And on that end, that's not as bad as the other end if it was a charity date kind of thing, saying, if you go out with her, I'll pay you $20. Because that minimizes the
but still, the mistake was made when the friends were there.
Yeah, that's, of course.
And he went over to him, and then she overheard them say, I'll give you the $20.
And then he told her why. He could have said something completely different. I mean, obviously, it's bad
he owed me $20
but...
from a dinner yesterday or something. But...
Yeah.
So you can imagine how it made her feel.
Awful.
Well, on one hand, I guess it would make you feel awful, like you were some kind of a charity case. But on the other hand, if you were some prize that these guys didn't think that they were good enough to ask you out, and
I think you're giving them way too much credit.
I'm trying.
This is a terrible.
I'm trying to help these guys out.
This is a terrible thing to do.
Okay.
He's giving the benefit of the doubt, but the benefit of the doubt is
it's a terrible thing to do in front of this young woman.
Well, and the good news is the end of the story is that everyone found out about this, and no one wants to date this guy ever again.
I think that there are bets about Macy all the time.
No way.
Guys are betting
not happening.
to whether or not.
That is definitely not happening.
Okay, next one. This was a little bit longer, but I thought it was worth reading. It all started during my first semester at school. A boy named Hiram, and she puts in parentheses, of course,
Hiram.
for my new student orientation group, asked me on a date. I accepted, not knowing what I was getting myself into.
Of course, you never know.
That Friday, I wore my favorite pair of khakis, a black t-shirt, and a cute jacket. He showed up in what I call full prose.
Full pros.
Yeah, what's that?
There's a full proselyting clothing,
Oh
AKA
my gosh.
a full suit, tie, dress pants, suit jacket.
Wow.
And then she says, did I mention we were going to get froyo?
Well, did he come from the temple or something? Or why was he just like...
While making small talk at the froyo place, he found out that I spoke Spanish. And he got so excited because he served his mission in Spanish. As we sat to eat, I dove into my strawberry froyo, but he raised his hand to stop me, and he said, sorry, do you mind if we bless this first?
Oh, no.
So awkward, she said.
Oh, dear.
I said I didn't mind, and suddenly he bowed his head and started praying out loud in a very public and populated froyo store in Spanish.
In Spanish?
I was mortified, and it was a long date, but what came after was even worse.
Oh, God.
Oh, come on.
I feel like the beginning, I was like, oh, that was bad. And then they're like, it gets worse.
Do you want to hear the rest of this?
No, I don't think so, because I'm kind of cringing already. But I guess we're going to hear
it. It does get worse.
Okay, let's hear it.
In the days that followed, he brought a gift to my door every day.
Oh.
Ice cream, flowers, a notebook, you name it. And he probably dropped it off at my door. It was like those cats that bring mice to their owner's gift.
Oh,
kind of eerie, she
said. That's not a good...
One day, I was fast asleep when my smoke detector went off at 6 a.m. I got up in a rush to see what was going on. As I entered my kitchen, I saw Hiram standing on a stool, fanning the smoke from the smoke detector.
What?
And opening a window. He had broken into my apartment to make me pancakes.
No.
Awful. I finally told Hiram I'd rather be his friend, and he reluctantly agreed.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, there's more. There's more.
There's more. Oh, my gosh, I thought it ended.
She starts the rest of this off. Then came the fateful day. I was chilling in my room when I got a FaceTime call from my mom. She told me that my grandma, who had been battling colon cancer, didn't have long left to live, so I should say my goodbyes. Through tears, I said my last words to my unresponsive grandma. I hung up, and I just had this sick feeling. I just melted into my bed and cried. After about 5 minutes of crying, I heard a knock on the apartment door. I ignored it, but the knocking continued. I said, who is it? And I heard, it's Hiram.
Nope.
Oh, no, 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 no. I said, now is not a good time, Hiram. I'm not feeling well. Come back later. You sound sad, he said, opening my door a crack and peeking his head into the room. Yeah, I'm having a hard day, and I'd like to be alone. He walked into the apartment and said, do you want a hug? No, I just need to be alone. He came towards me and said, I know what you need. And he picked me up over his shoulder and was carrying me. I was so sad and sick I couldn't react. I told him to put me down, and I realized he wasn't answering. I screamed for my roommates, but no one came to help me.
Oh, my gosh.
He carried me out to his car. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm being kidnapped on the same day I said goodbye to my dying grandma.
Oh my gosh.
He drove me to a Sonic and ordered me a large sour blue raspberry slush.
No.
She says, side note, the reason I was feeling sick was that I found out later that I had COVID.
Oh, wow.
After Sonic, he drove me to the temple. And while we were looking at the temple, he started telling me that families are forever and that I would see my grandma again. That discussion turned into how he couldn't wait to have his own eternal family, which led him to saying that he felt prompted to ask me if I'd consider marrying him.
Oh, my goodness.
What? This guy's psycho.
This can't be real.
She says, oh, yeah, that was the worst date I'd ever had.
This is the worst date we've ever heard of.
It consisted of my grandma passing away, getting COVID, and rejecting a marriage proposal from my kidnapper. Fortunately, I spent the next 2 weeks in quarantine, which kept him away from me. I'm probably the only person ever who was happy to get COVID.
Wow. That is an awesome story in the worst way possible.
It's got all the elements of a terrible date.
That's not even, that's like a lifetime.
It is.
That was
That's
a couple dates.
All in one story.
Well, the fact that he's sneaking into her apartment,
It's a little too
and then
creepy.
she's not feeling well, and he pushes
kidnapper.
his way into her apartment.
Oh, my goodness. There's just so many things wrong with this. I don't even know where to
So
start.
many things
This poor
wrong.
girl, by no fault of her own. But the thing is, we all know that guy, don't we? The guy who blesses the food out loud at the restaurant. We all know that person, don't we? We've seen that person.
Macy, have you dated a guy like that?
I feel like when I came for my mission, I did that with my family for the first couple times, and then I was like, actually, nobody does this. I probably shouldn't do that.
Well, when you're a missionary, you can get away with that stuff because you're a missionary, and everybody expects you to be a little kooky. But you get home and you can't get off your mission. See, this guy can't get off his mission. He still has to wear the mission uniform. He still has to operate the way missionaries do, of challenging and committing and then resolving differences. He's following the proselyting methodology here. And it doesn't work in the dating world because you have to have a lot more in depth before you agree to marry somebody than just a couple of dates and some flowers.
Well, you're not supposed to marry a missionary because missionaries are...
The missionary should be single.
Date. I mean, I respect him like wanting to pray and wanting to go to the temple and like those kind of things, but he took it to an extreme that was a little unnecessary for this situation.
Right.
And that poor girl, like he should have just taken the hint when she said, "I think we should be friends." That he like still
should have been done right there.
Should have been done.
Right.
It's like, "Oh yeah, let me just console you and like take you out of the apartment." What? Like that's like
well, she had COVID, so she was so sick she really had no strength. And
but the good thing is he probably got COVID too out of this.
Maybe
there's a silver lining.
I like that she said, "I'm probably the only person who ever's happy to get COVID." So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
right.
It was well written. You got to admit it was well written.
It
if we're going to award points for writing this,
I would give this one a good
poorly read,
9 out of
but well
10,
written.
Honestly, one of the best ones I've heard.
Okay, I have a couple short ones here.
Wait, we have to name it. The Kidnapper.
Yes, marriage proposal from a kidnapper.
Yeah, it's gonna shoot on Stockholm syndrome.
It was pretty funny. Okay, I have a couple of short ones now. This one says, one time on a first date, he took me to spray paint an old abandoned paper mill. I asked him if it was okay to do that.
We all haven't done that, right?
He asked me if it was okay to do that, and he assured me that it was. It was actually pretty fun, and I was having a great time until I saw the flashing lights.
Oh.
We got arrested, and my dad had to come pick me up from the police station. I was so embarrassed. Not my finest moment.
That sucks. It makes me think of the song I've heard by Keith Urban called Cop Car. It's like, the story is they go on this date and they get arrested. And he's like, I fall in love with her even more in the flashing lights. It's giving me that vibe. That's a sad day. Hopefully that was in high school because hopefully they're under the age of 18.
Yeah.
So that didn't go on the record.
That's
how romantic. Isn't
that's kind of scary.
So romantic.
Mom and Dad, tell us again how you met.
Can you imagine just calling your dad and telling him that you were arrested and he needed to come and pick you up? My dad would have had a fit.
As we sat in the back of the police car, I looked at her blue eyes and I realized this is the woman for me.
And
while you're in handcuffs.
That's exactly what the song basically says, but it's actually a really good song. It's probably my top 3 favorite songs.
Yeah. Well,
but they romanticize it. So
yes. Well, there you go.
So there you have it.
Put that to music and you got a hit.
So you like that one, huh? You like that one?
I did like that one.
Okay. Now these aren't all bad. Some of them are funny, right? So that was a funny.
Well, the same thing with Cop Car.
Well, no, that's bad. Yeah, getting your date arrested on a first date is never good.
That was a felony date.
Yeah,
a felony
date. There's
there we go.
The title of that.
Okay. All right, next one, another short one. On a first date, this guy walked me around the park.
Okay, that's admirable.
Why am I getting like dog lead
But see, walked me around the park.
Me? Like,
I guess we'll see here why she didn't say on their first date we walked around the park.
Well, this is what she said. On the first date, this guy walked me around the park.
He's like, come this way.
Yes.
Follow me.
Yeah.
Heel.
Well, okay, so that makes sense going to the next part here. She continues, a dog and owner came up to us, and I petted it a little. The dog was so sweet. As we walked away, he told me that he thought that dogs were God's worst creation.
Wow.
And she says, my dog had just died 3 days prior.
Oh.
This was the saddest date I'd ever been on.
That is sad. Oh, dogs are so cute. Do you guys have dogs?
I do.
I did.
Who thinks dogs are the worst creation?
Actually, I know some people. Cats are bad.
Cats think that dogs are.
That's true, but I think people go on their missions and then they have these bad experiences with dogs, and they're like, "Oh, actually, I hate dogs."
But I just can't imagine because he had no idea that her dog had died. But
yeah,
you got to really measure yourself on kind of the things you say.
Well, especially when she kneels down and she's playing with the dog and obviously enjoying it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember listening to a podcast or reading something that was like, if you want to be friends and influence people, then you need to be agreeable.
Right.
If you're very super passionate about something that everybody's usually a fan of, it's not a very good idea to blatantly state your
Right.
opinion like that and just be
Yeah.
so negative towards their opinion. So in this sense, I think he kind of went around it wrong. He saw that she was into
Right.
dogs and he was like, I hate dogs. Your
Yeah.
opinion is so stupid. He didn't
Yeah.
say that, but that's kind of what
And
he
it-
Yeah,
said.
basically, that's what he
Again,
said.
it's a first date. I just think that
well, it's
that young men need to learn that they need to kind of keep some of their opinions to themselves. And again, I go back to Candlin Newell, who
Yeah.
came on our show,
Yeah, I
and she
remember
said,
her.
keep your date in mind on everything that you do. And I think
Right.
that's what Macy just said.
I think it
You
is.
see that she likes dogs, so don't say something
Well,
stupid.
and that type of negative behavior is not going to create a spark that's going to get you a second date. Now,
Yeah.
is it?
No.
Okay, I have a really
You're
short
smart.
one now.
Okay.
See
All
what
right.
you think of this one.
Those are pretty short. How short
This
can it
one's
get?
shorter. This one's shorter.
Oh, wow. Like
Met a
second?
guy online. We went skiing, ate food, watched a movie, held hands, kissed a little. Then we realized we were third cousins.
Okay.
Well, but see,
Okay,
that's
okay,
got to be.
hold on. I have I can't name it, a friend, I can't say who, is dating her third cousin.
Well, that's okay. You can date your third cousin.
I think
still,
it's fine.
still a little creepy to
It's-
know that you're that closely related.
Well, in Utah, everyone is at least your third cousin. Haven't you done that little thing where your relationship finder
Yeah,
thing? Like everybody's.
find my
That's-
family or whatever.
everybody's your third cousin.
But that's not true. I had kids that were here and probably were not third cousins with anyone. So
Well, they don't want to admit it.
I just think that's a little creepy. Now, I do know a student told me a story about a guy that she was becoming in love with. And she said we were right at the I love you stage. And they looked on the app
Relationship finder.
and they found out they were second cousins.
Oh, wow.
And I go, oh my gosh. I said, did you ever kiss this guy? She goes, oh yeah, we used to make out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what'd you do? She said, we just kind of stared at each other. And she goes, I got out of the car silently and just walked away.
Oh my
She
goodness. Did
goes,
they
we
break
had
up
the
after
same,
that?
they had the same great grandmother.
That's crazy.
And so they knew all the same people.
That's
but
wild. I think second cousins is too close. Third,
Little
I would
closer.
I'd be able to
Cousins,
do,
you're
but
okay.
second is
cousins.
too close.
Yeah, that's a little awkward.
It's crazy. I'm glad they didn't make it as far as them though.
Okay. Ready
Okay.
for the next one?
Yes.
Wait, what are we naming that one? A family
don't,
fiasco.
Don't kiss your cousin.
Don't kiss your
Yeah,
cousin.
no kissing cousins. Okay, next one. This boy asked me out on a date that I didn't know him very well. So I asked him if he could get a date for my roommate so that we could double.
Oh.
He
That's
said
always
that
a
he
good thing.
could. He said, no problem.
No,
I can get
no
one.
problem.
He finally shows up an hour late. There's a red flag. And as we were walking to the car, he tells us that he couldn't find a date for my roommate, but he said that his sister was going to come with us.
What? Third wheel?
His
Like
sister
what?
is. so
Sure
the
enough,
sister
she
gonna
was
be
sitting in the
date?
car.
The sister was going to be the date for the
Yes.
roommate.
So I ended up going out on a 2-hour date with this guy, my roommate, and his sister. It was
Huh?
truly the most awkward date I'd ever been on. But on the positive note, my roommate had a great time laughing at me all night.
I'll bet so. So the question is, did they go to the zoo or did they get ice cream?
It was only a 2-hour date.
Oh, it was only
That's
a 2-hour
good. 2
date.
hours, that's good. My aunt actually, she told me the story about when she was 16, she got asked out on a date and she didn't want to go on the date. And so she took my other uncle who at the time was like 8 years old on this date with them because she was like, I don't want to go with this guy. So it's her and this guy and then her
The
little brother,
8-year-old.
8-year-old on this date.
That's
Mhm.
funny. Well, at least it was a double date because you had the sister and the roommate. there.
True.
But still a little weird, right? You
Well,
walk,
did they hit it
you're
off? We
walking
don't
to the
know.
car and all of a sudden the sister's sitting there in the back seat. And
I wonder how old the sister was.
it's just too funny, right?
Well, it's just one of these things. It's this whole thing. The premise is stupid. But if he would have called her and said, "Look, I can't find anything. My sister is here. Would you mind if we all just went and did something together?
Right.
Because I got my sister
Right.
here. Is that okay? We'll just go hang out. We'll do something together. It'd be
Yeah.
fun. I couldn't find somebody." Then they might say, "Yeah, that'd
So
be fun."
instead of hiding it,
Yes,
you
just
should
come out with the truth
come
and
out
then
and tell the truth.
not make it awkward. And then you go do something, and the four of you go have a fun time.
Right.
So true. It's like the expectations versus reality.
Yes.
If
yeah.
you just tell them this is what it's going to be, everyone's so much better with
Right.
that than if you're like, well, everyone thought it was going to be this and now it's this. So just tell
Yeah.
them. And then she probably would have been like, oh, yeah, this is what happened. We just hung out.
Well,
It
and
was
she
chill."
would
it
have
was,
said, "Oh,
was
that's
really fun.
fine.
I got to know
Yeah.
his sister. She was delightful, or whatever. Or she could have said, "Let's wait and let's do it another time." Give them the option rather than just all of a sudden thrusting this awkward situation on people.
Yeah, amen.
So there you go. All right.
Okay.
You ready for one more?
One more.
Yes, just one more.
I have
We've
a
only got
couple
one
more. I have a couple more that we
All
can
right.
get. I
Man, we
think
got
we
a
can
lot
do.
of family ones. This is another family one.
We have two families.
It's like fourth
All right.
wheeling, so it's like third wheeling, but it's like third and a half wheeling.
Now this one was sent in to me, and they actually titled it. So this was called the Car Donator.
Okay,
the
okay.
car donator.
Yeah.
Car donator.
Correct.
Okay.
Not like Carbonator, but
Not
Car
carbonator, but
Donator.
car donator.
When I was about 18, I went on a date with this guy from a dating app. I was really excited because he was so handsome, and he was a salesman, so he had big boy money.
Big boy money.
Big
Which
boy
was new
money.
for an 18-year-old like me. He had a beautiful singing voice as well.
How did she learn?
We went on one date, and it went well, so I agreed to go on a second date and even a third date.
Mm-hmm.
Before the third date, he asked me if I could help his brother pack up the brother's moving truck.
Right.
The brother was moving to Arizona, so we just had to pack boxes in the moving truck. Then after we packed, he mentioned he would be driving with his brother in the moving truck to take him down to Arizona. He asked me if I would take his pickup truck and drive it home, but he really didn't give me any idea where I should take it. So my family had 12 acres of land, so I decided that I would take it to my house and park it there.
Sounds like she's got a little bit of big boy money herself.
Yeah. So, well, fast forward a month, and the boy was leaving me on red.
A month?
I had no idea what to do with his truck, pickup truck.
What the?
I kept asking him what he wanted me to do with it, and finally he said, "You can have it."
What?
That's all the answer I got, and that's the last I ever heard from this random guy.
What?
So to this day, about 7 years later, his 2013 orange Nissan is on my parents' property, rotting away despite my consistent urge to drop it off on the side of the freeway and to let the police take it away.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! What?
Yeah, there's just too much going
He
on
has
here that we
deep-
don't understand.
He's got big boy money.
He has big boy
Well,
money.
he
and
takes her on a third date. They pack the brother's moving truck, and then he leaves with the brother, and then he never contacts her again.
Well, he stayed in Arizona. He never came back. He stayed with his brother down in Arizona, and so he didn't want the pickup. He didn't want her. He didn't want anything to do with you. He was done with.
A little strange.
A little.
we
I
need
would
to-
definitely have sold it. If I had been it like a year, I would be like, yeah, let me sell it. 7 years later, this shoddy still has the truck and it's just sitting there? What?
Well, and our parents
Sell
are
it.
saying, "Hey, what's that orange truck that you left on our 12-acre piece of property?"
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering that too. Well, she had no title. She couldn't license it,
Right, she
so
couldn't-
there's
so she
nothing she
couldn't really
could do
sell
with it.
And if she did, she could have been possibly charged with auto
Right.
theft.
So that's why she wanted to leave it on the side of the
that makes
road,
sense.
let
there's-
somebody else take it away.
So there's a trap, but it's how do you have that much big boy money when you just give your truck?
Well, it probably had 2 other cars somewhere.
Well, but even then, you don't say you make arrangements to come and pick it up or anything. You can just say you can have it to some girl you dated 3 times.
Well, there might be this thing that he didn't want to see the girl
He's
anymore.
in
It's just the whole
prison.
thing is
Weird.
He's
weird.
in prison. and
He's
that-
in prison. That's why he can
Yeah.
have it.
All right, one more. One more.
Okay.
Are you ready? He said, I met this girl at school, and I asked her out and recommended we get some ice cream. It's just ice cream. Shout out Dr.
Yeah.
Robinson. How
So,
about that?
Shout
so
out, Dr.
far,
Robinson.
Yeah, that's good.
The ice cream was delicious. The conversation was going great. It was as if nothing could go wrong. She was really cool, super fun, and had a great personality and was really good at getting me talking. In short, everything was moving along nicely. She had told me that she had to be done pretty soon, though, and I wanted to respect her time. So I politely asked if she needed to go. She said she did, so we got up to leave. I made some comments to her as we started to walk out to the door, but suddenly she stopped in her tracks. I looked up and I saw a guy walk in with a few of his friends. Immediately, my date left my side, and in 2 seconds, she crossed the ice cream store straight over to these other guys and gave one of them a bear hug. And it wasn't a short hug. To avoid being left behind, I slowly approached them, wondering what was happening. She stood there and looked at him with a love and admiration that I'd never seen before. They started talking, and I just stood there wondering what in the world is going on and not knowing what to do. He took one look at me, sized me up, and said, where are you guys going? I greeted him, but I didn't know what to say. Finally, he walked inside with his friends, and my date walked away with me. Who was that? I asked, trying to sound casual. Oh, just a friend. I love that guy.
What?
And with that, my heart sank, and I knew I had no chance. I left feeling disappointed and confused. The night wasn't a complete loss, though. I did have delicious ice cream.
Hey, way to
That's
look
a-
on the bright side on that
That's a
one.
guy that listens to our podcast.
Yeah, I
there
like
you go.
that.
You did get something out of it. So you never know. You never know what it's going to be. And the thing is, there's the possibility that was just a friend. But see, the thing is that he should look at that. That's the kind of commitment he's going to get out of her if they become
Right.
friends.
Now, in my past history, I remember being in a situation just like this.
Hmm.
And it is extremely uncomfortable and extremely heartbreaking because you have this date and things are going really well. And all of a sudden she sees this other guy and she brightens up and she gets excited and she goes over and talks to him. And you're just standing there like, wait, we're on a date and things
Yeah.
are going really well. And now you're talking to this other guy.
Well, again, this comes back to just what we've said before. She could easily said, "Oh, wait a minute, that's my friend over there. Do you mind if I go over and talk to him for a second?"
Right. Well, she
Come
was
over. I'd like
it
to.
appears she was in love with this guy.
Well, but even then, she'd say, "I'd like to introduce you. This is a friend of mine that we used to date at one time, or so, whatever it is. Do you mind if we come over and I introduce you to him?" They come and say, "Oh, this is my friend, and so she could have accomplished the same
could
thing,
have.
but not
Should have.
but not dragging this poor guy along. So it's just common courtesy that you have to think a little bit more of what you do. So she could have handled that in a way that would have been just fine. And he wouldn't have felt devastated because he would have thought, okay, this is a friend of hers and they introduced me and he felt disrespected.
Correct.
Because he was basically ignored. And then he felt the other guy was sizing him up, saying, well, where he was disrespecting him again. It was the disrespect that I don't like in this story.
Some of it, I think, was probably dramatized a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
looking back, he's probably like, "Oh, he sized me up." Like he probably just
Yeah.
like looked.
Well,
at
all
him,
kinds
know?
of things go through your head.
No, for
in
sure.
that situation.
I feel like in this is what I take away from this story. You go on a date with somebody and you think maybe it's going super well, and then all of a sudden maybe they ghost you or they just stop talking to you. You're like, what happened? And it could be that she's at the point already where she's about to start dating somebody.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what it seemed like it was. She's like, I really like that guy.
Yeah.
And although you're a really great guy, I'm already just really far ahead in this other
Mhm.
relationship. It's nothing against you. It's
Right.
just I'm already really far ahead. And so you don't always know why people say no to you,
No, right.
So just
Now, that's
remember
assuming that they had dated.
Or
There are
we don't
also-
know. There was some kind of a relationship
Well,
there.
there are
obviously.
also situations that I know of where you have a young woman who dreams about dating somebody
Oh.
and they are not interested in dating her because
Oh.
I've seen this. And the girls like find that person or they see that person and they light up and they go talk to him and the guy really has no interest in her. And then you're on a date with a really nice guy and you just kind of blew your chances with that one. So there's lots of different sides to this. We
There's a
don't know
lot.
the whole
We don't
story.
know.
But and the other side, he could have dodged a bullet here because her awkward handling of this might be an indication that she lacks social graces.
But I think you were right. I think this is disrespect. You could have
Right.
handled it much differently. So all these stories, I think, have one common thing, and that is you really need to be more respectful.
Yes.
Yeah.
You really need
And
to.
upfront and honest.
Yes.
And
then-
also respect your boundaries. Put up walls. Put up
Right.
some boundaries for yourself.
And young women, you need to have enough courage to say, no,
Right.
stop.
Yeah.
I want to go home. I'm ready
Right.
to have this date over. And don't worry about if there's a situation like that. Don't worry about hurting feelings.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that one.
Well, but it was
100%.
like on the zoo story, if she would have just let an hour or two into this, if she would have said, hey, this is really fun, but I just got a lot of things I got to do today, so I'm going to take off.
Right.
And
Well, she didn't drive to the zoo, remember?
Well, she said we could.
So-
Can we go? I got a lot to do.
I got a
Right.
lot to do today.
Take
Can you
me back to my
drop
car.
me off at my car? But you've got to insert yourself. If you just randomly let things happen to you, then you can't complain, and you shouldn't really be on this podcast.
That's right. should-
Because you got to
True.
take charge of your life,
But I
girlfriend.
appreciate these people sending
do
me
too.
these
Yeah,
stories.
for
It's a
sure.
lot
it
of
makes
fun.
it fun for us.
we appreciate that.
Hopefully our listeners learn something, that they learn a lot. And I think it is that what we've talked about is that open communication. Be honest. Be straightforward. That's really what
Well, and the
we need to take
bigger
away from
picture is
this.
that's what everyone really needs in relationships. You need to be in a relationship where you can be honest with each other.
Oh, for sure.
Because moving on in life, if you do get to the point where you have a more serious relationship, that honesty turns out to be the very most important thing.
Correct.
And so when you're beginning that foundation with someone who can't be honest with you for whatever reason, that's a big red flag that you should
Yes.
look elsewhere.
So, Macy, did you learn anything today?
I learned a lot of things. I got to remember to stand up for myself. But also, I think saying yes to some dates that you wouldn't necessarily always say yes to is a good way to get a bad date story.
It is. At the very least, you could get ice
So-
cream and a bad date
You
story.
Yeah.
can get really
so
nice
true.
ice cream.
And because I'm somebody that will say, hey, I really got to go do some stuff, I wouldn't mind saying that. So I think
Yeah.
the date wouldn't get dragged out longer than
Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
very confident person. I think our listeners need to learn a lot from
Yes,
Macy.
I
She's
think
a
they should
confident
too.
person. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
well, there you go, guys. And I saved a lot for later, so we have another
Oh, good.
show coming up that we can do.
That's a tease, Tom. That's what
That's
we
a
call
tease.
a tease.
We're teasing
in
that,
the
so-
podcasting business. We're teasing
Well,
the next
listen,
episode.
everybody, we have a lot of
Stay
fun
tuned.
podcasts out there. So if you had fun listening to this one, go back and listen.
Mhm.
Man, I was just thinking the other day of all the really cool advice that we've gotten to help people
Yeah.
become better daters, to help people get out of their apartments on Friday, because that's what this podcast is all about.
Right.
We want you to go out, have fun getting to know someone. It's not about marriage. It's not about a relationship. It's about just having fun.
So true.
Okay. Well, listen, we're on Instagram. Got a lot of really fun stuff up there. And you can find us at Dating Made Simple. We're also on TikTok.
Yes.
So some of our stuff's going out on TikTok. And you can also check out our webpage at Dating Made Simple IJD,
Right.
where it's just dinner. So thank you guys for showing up. We love your bad date stories. Keep sending those in
Yes,
to me. They're a lot of
please
fun.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, last piece of advice. Here we go. Just have fun out there, would you?